Hello, welcome to Olio. My name's Susan Rushton, and before we go any further, I want to explain what Olio means, but you may know already. It's short for olla podrida, which is Spanish for rotten bowl, which I just always have a kick out of. It's Spanish. It's a Spanish Portuguese dish with pork with all of its stuff. Pork, bacon, sausage, pig's ears, as well as chickpeas and chicken and cabbage and carrots and beans, onions, of course, and garlic. Everything you could possibly imagine except prunes and oranges. That's one definition. Another definition is that olio is what comes in between acts of melodrama. So you might have somebody singing, you might have somebody telling jokes, you might have somebody juggling, and none of it has anything to do with anything else, and it's sort of apples, oranges, and a monkey wrench. So welcome to my monkey wrench. So today my guest is Emily Hoffman. She doesn't work in Auburn. You work in Roseville, right?
Yes.
She's a public information officer or the public.
I'm the public information officer.
The public information officer for Western Placer Waste Management Authority, 3013 Fiddyment Road, Roseville, and you can log on to wpwma.ca.gov, and can we share your email?
Sure.
Okay. Hoffman, EHOFFMAN @placer.ca.gov. And can I share your email? No, your phone number?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
1-916-543-3989. Before I start talking with you, I want to share with you and you, Emily, that my husband and I have been recycling paper, glass, cardboard, and aluminum cans for 46 years. And I remember doing that one time before we were married and watching him throw and throw and throw, and I thought, marry him, Susan. Better do that. And I did. And we still do that. And I was told a while ago, I had a group of friends join my husband and me, and she came and talked to us. And you said that we don't have to do that anymore.
No. Yes, that's true. That's the great thing about Placer County. So my agency, we own and operate a facility called the Materials Recovery Facility, or the MRF. And the MRF is, we've been saying for years, you toss, we sort. You don't need to separate out anything. We take care of all of that for you.
So you what?
You toss. So
You
the
toss.
residents toss. We, the WATMA, or the MRF, sort.
Okay.
So we're the ones who help sort out all the recyclables and now all the compostables that are thrown away in our regular garbage.
Okay. What do you mean about coastables? What's a coastable?
A compostable, so that's an item that can compost. So majority of the time that's organic waste, which we would consider food scraps.
Mm-hmm.
Could also be soiled paper products like a paper towel, or scrap paper if it gets soiled, something like that. But there are other products that are also organic in nature. For example, wood waste, yard trimmings, leaves, things like that. All of that stuff, if it's thrown away in your regular garbage can, comes to our facility and gets sorted out. So sometimes we call the garbage can the one big bin.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is because it's not just a garbage can. It's also a recycling can and a compost can. And so when you put items in that can, it automatically comes to our facility and we'll sort through it to recover the very valuable items that are thrown away.
when you say very valuable items, for example.
So, for example, aluminum cans, one bale of aluminum cans, which could be weigh up to a ton, which is 2,000 pounds. So, a giant container of aluminum cans, that can be as valuable as $5,000 to a buyer. So, we may have an aluminum buyer who wants to buy that bale of aluminum from us, and it's $5,000 for just one bale of aluminum. We make more than 50 bales in a week, and so there's a lot of bales. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we make a lot of bales of recyclable items, plus there are plenty of other items that then, yes, it creates a business.
Some organizations want to buy the crap that you guys have.
Well, it's not crap. It's a highly valuable project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not crap.
No. Well, and that's a very interesting thing. It's a term, semantics. When I'll use my aluminum can as an example. Yeah, I drink so many sparkling waters every single day, probably three or four.
She didn't. I'm sure she didn't bring that just to talk about.
No, I didn't. I actually really do drink a whole bunch of these. So when I'm finished drinking this can of lemon lime Waterloo, very delicious. When I'm finished with it, this is trash to me. I have no more need or use for an aluminum can in my life. No. And, my coworkers make fun of me. I've got cans are lining my office because I, always forget to throw them away. But I throw it away because I have no more use for it. Well, by the time this aluminum can makes it into the MRF and goes through the MRF, that's a very valuable resource that we can mine. So what was trash to me is a valuable resource that we can mine through the waste stream and pick out almost like precious gems. That's how valuable we view recyclables and compostable waste. That because it's not waste to us, it's a precious resource.
Okay. And there are other things too. For example.
So, for example, some of the common items that you might assume are recyclable. So, paper, cardboard boxes, plastic milk containers, plastic laundry detergent containers, plastic water bottles, things like that. But also unique items that many people may not assume are recyclable, like, doorknobs, sink faucets, and shower heads. Those are all very valuable metals that we can recover. Metal bottle caps, we pull those out and recycle them all the time.
Tiny little things.
Tiny little random things. Paper clips, staples. We'll pull out any of that stuff as it goes through our system. And then sometimes, depending on recycling market conditions, we can pull out items like textiles, different types of plastic. So there could be a market for film plastic, or there could be a market for number 5 plastic, or maybe styrofoam, or some other things like that. That's the other really interesting part of recycling is something's not recyclable just because it has the chasing arrow symbol that we're all familiar with. That doesn't necessarily make something recyclable. What makes it recyclable if there is a buyer or a recycler who wants to buy it and actually transform it into something new. One of the big issues right now within the industry is something called wish cycling. So wish cycling.
How do you, W-I-S-H?
Yes.
Is it W period I period?
Nope, it's wish cycling. Mean? So it's when we wish that something would be recyclable, but it's really not. So this happens all the time in communities that have separate recycling bins. So in communities that have separate recycling bins, so many times people will toss items in there because they're like, well, I hope that this is recycled, or, they could be tossing, styrofoam, film plastic, things that their community has asked them not to put in that bin, but they're like, maybe if I toss it in, maybe something will happen. And that we call that wish cycling, because we wish that it would be recycled. Well, when that recycling bin goes to a facility like ours, to a MRF, and they're sorting through it, that's going to make its way into a landfill, in some other community or something like that, and it's not actually going to get recycled. One of the things that some of those communities are finding is that sometimes up to half of the stuff that people put in their recycling bin isn't actually able to be recycled. and it's because we're just wishing that it would.
Yeah.
That's a difference between a community that has separate recycling bins and a community like ours.
Mm-hmm.
There's no wish cycling. We are only pulling out of the waste stream the items that we can actually recycle and that we actually have buyers for.
Yeah.
And we're still able to recover a really large amount of materials.
Good.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yes. Now, you're talking about MRF.
Yes.
What does MRF stand for?
The Materials Recovery Facility. So essentially, the MRF is a giant building with machinery inside that are all designed to separate all the materials. So we separate, we sort, and then we categorize materials.
Okay.
And there's 4 ways that we use sorting equipment in the MRF to sort materials. So the first is dimension or size. So we've got large items, we've got small items, we've got items that are flat, that are 2D, we've got items that are
2D?
Two-dimensional, like paper or cardboard or things like that. We have items that are 3-dimensional, like cans and bottles and containers. We use other machines to help us separate by size. So we have dimension, size, density. Some items are heavier than others, some items are lighter than others. So we're able to separate out by the 2 different, essentially, weights or densities.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last way is material type. We can use things like magnets to collect magnetic metals and things like that. Eddy current separators.
Eddy?
Eddy, E-D-D-Y, eddy current separators. Those help us separate non-ferrous or non-magnetic metals by creating an electrical current that attracts those non-ferrous metals. So it almost looks like salmon flying upstream when, the aluminum cans like the one I have here are just jumping towards that eddy current. And so we're able to collect all the aluminum that gets thrown away.
Wow.
And then the last way that we sort by material type, not only using human sorters, but we use a machine called an optical sorter. So an optical sorter is a machine that's placed over a conveyor belt of equipment. It's got a giant camera lens that looks at all the material that's coming on the line, and then if it finds something that we've programmed the machine to go after or like, it knocks it off the line with a puff of air. So it's just flicking items left and right off of the line, and it's incredible. And the other great thing about it is we have 14 that are going into our materials recovery facility right now.
14 what?
Optical sorters.
Okay.
So we have 14 of these machines. A human sorter can sort roughly 30 items per minute.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 30
imagine.
different items if we say, okay, Susan, you're picking out plastic bottles. Go. So a human sorter can pull out about 30 per minute.
Yes.
I can probably do 5. So that's, for reference. Then this machine, the optical sorter, it can do up to 600 per minute. So you get a much larger boost in productivity. We're still utilizing the human sorters. They're just on the back end checking the work of all the machines, doing more quality control. Less of, so instead of saying, okay, Susan, you have to pick out all the plastic, we have the machine do that.
Whoop. There it goes.
Yeah, we have the machine do that, and you're just checking the machine's work. So you're saying, oh, silly robot, you missed this one, or oh, silly robot, we didn't want that. So things like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And how long Western Plaster Waste Management Authority had machines?
Yeah. So they built the original materials recovery facility in 1995. So
since 1995?
Since 1995, we have had some version of the materials recovery facility. In 2023, we started a massive renovation project on our facility because, recycling infrastructure has come a long way since 1995. So, I'm about the same age as the original MRF, and fortunately, I have fared much better than the original MRF has in terms of recycling infrastructure. So it was really in need of a full-scale upgrade and to really bring us into times with our, modernization and things like that, but also the growing needs of our community. So right now, we receive 2 million pounds of waste every single day that has to be processed through the MRF. So that means
How many pounds
2 million
every day?
every day
From this is for Placer.
from all of Placer County minus Tahoe. So
Okay.
all of Placer County is generating 2 million pounds of waste a day that needs to be sorted. What we also know is that our community is rapidly growing. People like me have moved to Placer County in the last 5 years, and Placer County is anticipated to double in population size roughly over the next 30 years. And so from our perspective, that means we're anticipating a doubling in the amount of waste we'll have to process.
Yeah.
So we were already at our limits at the 2 million pounds per day, and knowing that we have 4 million pounds per day that's probably coming sometime soon, we needed to make sure that we had upgraded our facilities so that we could accommodate more residents, more businesses, and ultimately more trash that we would have to sort.
Yeah.
So we started, like I mentioned, in 2023, we started this multi-year renovation project. We are wrapping it up very rapidly in the next few weeks. In fact, they're beginning right now testing and commissioning of our brand new state-of-the-art equipment, which is really, really, really exciting because it's been a long time coming, at least 2 years that we've been in active construction for this project. And so finally getting to see it wrap up and see all these machines in action has been really incredible.
Neat.
Yeah.
Wow. And way at the bottom of my list of questions I'm asking you is, you mentioned an event that's coming up. Let's talk about that.
Sure. So we have a couple of events that are coming up. One of the biggest ones for the community, at least, is Trash Bash.
Trash Bash.
Trash Bash.
Okay.
So we hold Trash Bash typically every April and every September. Unfortunately, due to construction, we're not going to be able to have it this April, but we'll have it in September for the community.
September, do you know?
Don't have a date yet.
Okay.
So yeah, visit our website, wpwma.ca.gov for more information.
Do it again.
Visit our website, wpwma.ca.gov for additional details.
Okay.
But Trash Bash is a great opportunity where you get to take a nice, safe bus tour of the facility. So we drive you around and take you to all the different sites on our campus, including the materials recovery facility, our composting facilities, the landfill, our landfill gas to energy plant, all sorts of things. So you really get a chance to see the entire campus. Plus, we've got lots of fun games for the kids. So we've got everything from,
Really?
Yeah, no, we have a ton of fun games. So you get to be a recycling robot. So you get to pretend that you're the optical sorter that's pulling all the different materials. So we'll place out all of that waste, and you get to practice your sorting skills and stuff like that.
Wow.
We'll give you instructions in the same way we do with the robots. We've got to program you. And then we also have a really fun painting activity where we make a community mural using recycled paint that people have dropped off at our facility. We also do a couple of other fun events, including or at Trash Bash, like you get to make your own compost. So we show you how to make compost, and then you get to take home a little plant, and you get to put some compost in it that you can plant in your backyard at home, or anything like that.
Okay.
So we do a lot of cool things like that. Speaking of compost as well, we're really excited. We're working with the Placer County Master Gardeners to bring a composting workshop program where we are going to teach you how to compost at home. It's great that we have commercial scale composting facilities, and so if you don't want to compost at home, or you're lazy, I will admit I fall into the lazy camp.
Well, she's not lazy. She's just busy.
I know, but that's one where I know how to compost. We have it at work. But it just doesn't fit in with my lifestyle in terms of it doesn't make sense for me to compost at home. That's so true. Plus, I know my facility will take care of it, and so if I just toss it in my garbage can, it'll eventually get sorted out at the MRF, which is, peace of mind for some folks like me. However, if you like to garden at home, If you're looking for that extra
Yeah.
challenge and you want to, learn all the different methods of composting, all the way from how to do it, easily at home, and whether it's using worms or adding in heat or some of these new technologies that you can use at home, or figuring out, well, how do we do it at our facility where we make 80,000 tons of compost a year? So we're making massive amounts of compost at our facility, but how do you learn how to make it at home, and how do you use the skills that you could take from a commercial level and bring it down to an individual, backyard level? So we're really excited about that. That will also be on our website as soon as we have the dates for our upcoming workshops. Yeah. We're aiming to do one a quarter with the Placer County Master Gardeners. So
neat.
We're really excited about that.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. The first one will be at the 12 Bridges Library in Lincoln, and it'll be later in May. So we're really excited about that.
So when is that? The 12th?
That's going to be in May at the 12 Bridges Library in Lincoln.
Neat. I told you about what we do, what my husband and I did before we were husband and wife.
Mm-hmm.
Is that sort of foolish now?
Well, it depends. So we also at our I keep mentioning it's our site, we really call it a campus.
Because it's so big.
Because it's so big, and because we have so many different things there. We really are a great one-stop shop for the community for anything in waste and recycling. And that includes if you do want to separate out your recyclables at home. So we have a recycling buyback center at our facility in our public drop-off area, where if you do collect your, cans and bottles, or even cardboard or newspaper or something like that, you can drop all those items off for free, or for your cans and bottles and glass. You do get a refund back from as part of the California Redemption Value Program. So you do get a refund back for things like that. So if you want to do that, you're welcome to do that. You just have to, drive down to Roseville and come visit our facility. But if that's something that works for you or your family, totally a great idea to do that. We've got plenty of folks who do that and come regularly to our facility who like to separate them out. Mm-hmm. But you don't necessarily need to. The other side of it is, we've gotten this a few times, is folks will say, well, I've got a bag for my recyclables and I have a bag for my garbage, and then I put it together, but my bag for recyclables, maybe it's blue or something like that. Does that make it easier for you? And to that I say, unfortunately, no. So the very first thing that happens to waste when it gets tipped out on our tipping floor, so the garbage trucks come, they tip back, and all the waste falls down onto the floor. Then we pick it up and we put it onto the conveyor belt. The very first thing that happens is we rip open all the bags, and the official engineering term is we liberate the waste. So the garbage says, I'm free! And so we've freed the waste, and it gets to go on and head up on the sorting line. Well, what that means is if you have a bag of recyclables and a bag of other garbage or other items or things like that, both of those bags are going to get ripped open and tossed together. And so if it gives you peace of mind to do it, or it makes you feel better, go for it.
Okay.
It's totally fine. But just know that it doesn't necessarily.
It's all going to be
us.
in the place.
Yeah. It's a little bit like your stomach when you're eating. It's like it all ends up in the same place, anyways. Yeah.
Okay. One of my questions has to do with I know you don't work for Recology Auburn Placer,
mm-hmm.
but their slogan is Waste Zero.
Yes.
And that's probably impossible regarding the plastic.
Yeah. So. But if you look into it, it's aspirational. So there's been this movement within my industry, the waste and recycling industry, that we really should be finding ways to recycle, compost, or otherwise beneficially use items that are getting thrown away. And that movement's called the Zero Waste Movement. Mm-hmm. Now, There are a lot of bills that have been passed recently that have gone towards this zero waste movement. And so, for example, Recology's slogan is waste zero, because that's what they're aiming for as a company entirely, which is great. That's
a wonderful idea.
Yes, it's absolutely a very wonderful idea. Unfortunately, it's going to take us a really long time, and it's going to take a whole lot of people coming together.
Yeah.
One of the big pieces of it, though, is there was a bill that was passed a few years ago called SB 54. And the name of the bill was, reducing plastic packaging pollution.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is a little confusing, but basically the goal is it's an extended producer responsibility for plastic and other, packaging producers, saying if you are making products in packaging or making the packaging of products that can't be recycled or can't be beneficially reused, it's now your responsibility to make it something that can be recycled, work with the waste industry to try to figure out this problem. One of the big things that I talk about with people when they come to our facility and they say, what can I do to help? I always say, buy better products and throw away better things. What that means is
buy better products and throw away better things.
Throw away better things. So what that means is if you're at the store, you're looking at something. I'll use this example because this just happened to me this past weekend. I ran out of hand soap. I needed to get a new hand soap. I have a very beautiful hand soap glass jar that I like to keep on my, in my kitchen. So I just needed to get the refill. Well, when I went to the store to look at the different hand soaps that they had some hand soap that was in plastic containers, some that was in plastic pouches, and then they had one that was in an aluminum container. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to buy the one that's in the aluminum container.
Aluminum.
Because aluminum is infinitely recyclable. You can recycle aluminum over and over and over and over and over again. And it
Are you listening to her?
No loss in quality and product.
Yeah.
So that means that this, aluminum can maybe once was, a refillable soap container.
Yes.
Or, anything else, another sort of container or something like that. But yeah, I really encourage people, look for, metal products, look for glass products, look for products that really, really can be recycled over and over again.
Yeah.
And so make that better choice or make that swap. And that's a really easy way that you can make an impact.
Wonderful.
And that leads towards our zero waste goals.
Yes. Good. Emily, we're done.
Oh my gosh.
And if you want to learn more, log on to wpwma.ca.gov. Email her, ehoffman@placer.ca.gov. Emily, this has been wonderful, and I've learned a lot, and so have you. Wonderful. Thank you very much for being my guest.
My pleasure. It's always wonderful to talk trash. So.
You've said that several times. Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you again.